Good afternoon. Let me start by recognizing what I believe to be the heroic efforts of our D.C. government employees, including our first responders and the crews from DDOT, DPW, and just a host of agencies who worked around the clock on storm relief and addressing the confluence of the heat wave that we've experienced. And I also want to thank the residents of the District of Columbia for their patience and fortitude in getting through this. As of noon, PEPCO is reporting about 41,000 customers in the district are still without power. Residents still without power are largely concentrated in 11 of the district's 97 zip codes, most of which are in wards 3, 4, 7, and 8. PEPCO has indicated that power will be restored to at least 90% of the customers by Friday, and while I want to thank them for their progress, they need to move faster. PEPCO's pace of restoring power, to me anyway, is unacceptable, and the speed of their response has been disappointing. And how many times have we been through this before? Frankly, I think most would agree, Friday is just not good enough to be able to restore power to our people here in the city. With respect to DDOT, all major roads have been cleared of trees, and for the most part, traffic is moving freely around the city. Some side streets still remain blocked. DDOT reports that about 65 traffic lights are malfunctioning at some major intersections around the city due to lack of power. At least 50 are working on city generators, while others are being staffed by DDOT traffic control officers, MPD, and even the National Guard. And I want to thank General Schwartz for stepping up as quickly as the other agencies have. We've not received any reports of any major accidents or incidents associated with this. As of now, DDOT reports that there are more than 200 fallen trees with downed power wires on public space, and another 1,300 downed trees on public and private space. DDOT is in the process of procuring additional generators to re-energize traffic signals at critical locations. DPW crews have been busy over the last 2 days refueling generators at senior centers and medical facilities, which was starting to run out of fuel. All nursing facilities have now regained power. They also deployed many light towers with generators at key intersections without stoplights or street lights, also on evacuation routes and other priority areas. DPW has been out all weekend and continues to support DDOT's urban forestry crews and assist in hauling away debris, which now is about 200 tons at the last report. I've been told that their crews have been so busy that many of their chainsaws have worn out, and we've had to do an emergency procurement. I think we've gotten 7 or 8 additional saws that our Office of Contract Procurement has procured on an emergency basis for us. DPW has also instructed residents to put limbs in front of their houses in tree boxes, and DPW will make special collections over the next several days in order to be able to get those tree limbs out of there. And finally, because we know so much food has been spoiled because of refrigerators and freezers without power, DPW is arranging for trash trucks to be stationed at certain locations between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. both today and tomorrow, so that residents can drop off spoiled food right away rather than waiting for normal garbage collection times. Now, these locations are LaSalle Backus Elementary School, which is at 501 Riggs Road Northeast, McKinley Tech High School at 151 T Street Northeast, Key Elementary at 5001 Dana Place Northwest, Wilson High School, which everybody knows where that is, 3950 Chesapeake Street, Farabee Hope Elementary School at 3999 8th Street Southeast, and Garfield Elementary School, which is actually nearby to here, at 2435 Alabama Avenue Southeast. With respect to the D.C. public schools, we still have a number of schools that are without power. And as you know, DCPS canceled summer school today as well as other activities on DCPS campuses. We've also made the decision that DCPS will remain closed tomorrow, meaning there will be no summer school or other activities at any DCPS campus. And of course, obviously, they'll be closed on Wednesday because that is a holiday in any event. Only essential personnel should report. In addition, the DCPS administrative offices are open. The buses that transport children to non-public placements, be they, wherever they may be, will not be operational tomorrow, and presumably they will be back online Thursday when those schools reopen. Power at all nursing facilities in the district, as I indicated earlier, has now been restored, or arrangements have been made to care for the people who were living in those programs, in those facilities. We understand that power has been restored at the Deanwood facility, which was down, but its air handler motor just blew out. We're checking to find an HVAC technician through our Department of General Services, a person who may be able to help out to correct that problem. Before power was restored, our Department of Health, Office on Aging, and other agency personnel have been incredibly diligent about checking on them and delivering fuel when their generators were running low, as well as making sure that ice and water has been available. As you know, we have 14,300 young people who are working in our Summer Youth Employment Program. All the participants were notified yesterday by email and phone calls about the status of their work sites. If their work site has power, they were instructed to report. If not, they were told to stay home, and they will be paid either way. And I understand from Chief Lanier that all of our junior cadets showed up for work, which speaks well. Those should be
emergency services.
That's
sir.
right, your future police officers, Chief. We had many cooling centers open yesterday and today at rec centers and both and libraries as well, many with extended hours, and 3 open all last night at Kennedy, North Michigan, and the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center on this side of the river. Today, all DPR recreation centers, other than those 11 sites that are closed due to power outages, will be open for normal activities, and the public is welcome to come during normal operating hours. In addition, all DC Public Library branches, other than the Tacoma Park Neighborhood Library, which is closed because of a power outage, will be open for their normal hours. 5 libraries will be open for extended hours this evening until 9 p.m., and they will serve as cooling centers. They are Martin Luther King Jr. Library, which is, of course, our central library in downtown, the Anacostia Neighborhood Library, the Dorothy Height Library on Benning Road, the William O. Lockridge Bellevue Neighborhood Library, which only recently opened, and the Chenley Friendship Neighborhood Library at Albemarle and Wisconsin. With respect to DPR, while the vast majority of those facilities are open, as I mentioned earlier, 11 facilities and programs are closed today because they are without power. If you go to our website, dc.gov, the website, you'll find a complete listing of DPR programs that have been canceled for today. Additionally, 2 DPR pools are closed. That's East Potomac outdoor pool and Turkey Thicket, which is an indoor pool, both because of power outages. With respect to MPD, MPD officers, personnel have been deployed, and protective services personnel across the city to provide extra security with special emphasis on rec centers and pools. DMV, the branch facility at Penn Branch is closed today because it has a power outage also. The National Guard, again, has been activated and deployed personnel. Most of them are helping with traffic management at the, 60 to 65 areas where we know that there are traffic light problems, and enhancing our security around the city. That's an overview of where we are at this stage. I'm going to ask now Chris Geldart to come up and provide some additional details on where we are with tackling this emergency that we've experienced for the last couple of days.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is our third storm of the season, by far the worst. From what we're seeing in the national weather, we can count on similar storms to this. So I don't want us to get too complacent after we get through this one. So I do just want to take 1 second to remind folks to be diligent, learn the lessons that we're learning in this storm now, and take those forward through the summer, because we could see more storms like this. So the preparations that you need to do, please, once we recover from this, take the lesson from it and take those precautions going forward. Behind me on the map, you can see these are what we're tracking, is our power outages, our trees that are down, our hardest hit areas. The mayor covered many of the particulars on that. What I'd like to cover is just a little bit of what your public service agencies have been doing for you. From the beginning of the storm until now, our fire services and emergency medical services have responded to 2,003 service calls. The Metropolitan Police Department has responded to 5,697 calls. Our urban forestry has done 656 service calls, and our 311 service has responded to 9,382 calls, to include covering 911 services for some of our surrounding districts when the storm hit. That all being said, this was a major storm. We're in recovery mode now. We are, as the mayor said, making sure that we have the appropriate services out in the communities to get the folks what they need to get through this until we can have PEPCO restore the power. A couple things I'd like to hit as far as water is concerned. DC water is just fine. We've had no issues with it, so your tap water is good. Some of our surrounding districts did have some issues with water. We have none. The other thing I would like to say on that end is, as far as folks out there in the areas, if you have a need, please dial 311. That does get into our emergency operations center. We will respond to those calls. We've provided cooling buses, we've provided ice, we've provided transportation for folks to cooling centers, we've provided medical services. That is the nexus in which we can get in to emergency services. So unless it's life-threatening, if it's life-threatening, please dial 911. If it's a service that you need that is not immediately life-threatening, please use the 311 system. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for now.
All right, before we take any questions, I want to thank additionally the City Administrator for doing a great job during this period, our deputy mayors, and the other department heads who have really mobilized effectively. For those who don't know, we engage year-round in a set of exercises around these kinds of eventualities or possibilities, and of course these are the times when you find out whether that has worked or not. And I frankly believe that it's clear that this has worked as well as we possibly could have hoped for during this difficult time. Tom?
Mr. Mayor, you said things have worked about as well as you hoped for. But you began the statement by saying that PEPCO needs to move faster because we've been here before. Could you elaborate maybe a little more on your concern about what the utility companies have or haven't done?
Yeah, I want to be clear too, Tom. I was referring to the people within government who have done, I think, a Herculean job. And of course, PEPCO is not a part of the government. I think people are fed up with power outages, and we need a game changer. We need an approach now that is going to address how we stop this in the first place. There are people who've asked me even today about burying lines. We've had conversations with the utility company before with PEPCO about that, and I've been told, I haven't seen any confirmation of it, that the cost of doing that would be between between $1 and $6 billion. I think now is the time to seriously have that conversation, because unfortunately one of the things that I think is clear is that this is going to happen again, and people are just sick of it.
Would the district also make it easier for people to afford cutting down trees so that way fewer trees fall on lines?
What do you mean make it easier?
If I'm not mistaken, there's penalties and fines for cutting down trees in the district.
Well, there are, but, you know, we probably would have had a lot of these trees removed, but the ones that haven't been removed, the ones that have power lines intertwined with them, which is a dangerous situation. I think when you talk about 200 tons of debris having been removed, most of those are tree limbs or trees that were down. So when I look at urban forestry, I look at DPW, I look at DDOT, I look at FEMS, they've all come together to remove the trees. So I don't think it's a matter of, you know, empowering people to cut down trees. I think it's a matter of being able to get, for example, get these downed wires out of the way so we could remove the trees.
Mayor, how many deaths are we investigating here in the city as related to the storm? What would circumstances, are these trees down, or are we starting to see problems now with the heat?
Yeah, I think there's been one, and that was an electrocution from what I can gather. It was somebody whose automobile was on fire. The person went out to put out the fire and was electrocuted in the course of it because it was a downed wire. And as I understand it also, his wife went outside and she stepped in a pool of water that then caused her serious injury as well. But to my knowledge, there are no other deaths or serious injuries at this stage.
Mr. Mayor, how will you help hold PEPCO responsible, accountable for their lack of speed? Will you report to the Public Utilities Commission? What can you do as mayor?
Well, I think those we're going to have to see at this stage what options are available to us. Obviously, they are responsible to the Public Service Commission, which in substantial part is an independent instrumentality of the district. But ironically enough, PEPCO is also asking for a rate increase at the same time that these kinds of incidents continue in the city. I think also we need to come together with the county executives in the region, as well as the two governors, which I want to do with Governors McDonnell and O'Malley, because Governor O'Malley has already expressed his frustration. Again, we don't have a specific plan at this stage moving forward, but we will have a specific plan, because one of the things that unfortunately is clear is that this will happen again.
And as a follow-up, does PEPCO's lack of performance after this storm concern any or all of you in the event of a terrorist attack?
Well, it certainly could be an issue. We haven't evaluated that aspect of it at this stage. We obviously have evaluated that related to storms and the aftermath of storms with downed wires and power outages. Let me try to get everybody who hasn't gone. Alan.
We've heard some concern from some city officials that PEPCO may be focusing its resources more on Montgomery County than in Maryland suburbs. Do you feel that the district is getting short-changed at all by PEPCO?
I can't make that statement. We know that there were about 65,000 customers who were out of service in the beginning. We are told now that's down to about 40 or 41,000. But, you know, in terms of being shortchanged, I think people see themselves being shortchanged every time they have a power outage, no matter how long it may last. Cathy.
Do you think that in the past the city hasn't been tough enough on PEPCO?
I don't know. I can't say that. We've had, you know, we certainly have had very serious conversations with them. The issue is being able now to ensure that there are consequences associated with, you know, with substandard performance.
It seems in the past that Montgomery County has been levied major fines against PEPCO, but the district hasn't gone that far.
Well, fines or not, it seems that everybody's still experiencing the same problem. Nikita?
This is not related to PEPCO, although it is. How many of the summer participants are affected by this, by not going to work? And then how many students are affected by the DCPS?
Well, let me put it in context. On DCPS, it would be the summer school students, and there probably would be several thousand, I suspect. How many? You know? You know, Deputy Mayor? Wait a minute, not on summer youth, DCPS. How many enrolled in summer school? About 6,000 enrolled in summer school. And then we have a total of 14,300 SYEP employees. And how many are affected by that?
About 1,500 go to the schools or community-based organizations.
Yes.
Earlier you said that PEPCO's Friday deadline for having all power restored is unacceptable. Have you focused in on an earlier date, a specific date at which you'd like to have power restored to everybody?
Yes, at exactly 2:30 today.
Mayor, I believe your power is still out, is that correct?
It is.
Could we hear, if possible, maybe from the chief about, on Wednesday, there's the 4th of July celebration. Park Service said it's on, so all the people will be coming into town. And how are the officers doing on the street in terms of both doing additional crime control and traffic control? 4th of July, is the city going to be ready?
4th of July is still on. It's still coming on the 4th.
Right?
Did I detect a note of happiness in your voice?
Ecstatic. Fortunately, we had a plan in place to move to 12-hour shifts beginning on midnight shift on Sunday from, a couple of weeks ago. It just so happens that came really in handy for an increased security presence and posture. We moved to a 12-hour shift deployments anyway. So that's helped us out quite a bit with the storm. There'll probably be some challenges with the 4th of July. There's a lot of construction down on the mall. So space is going to be limited for the people that come to watch along the panels of the mall. And, the tree debris removal that's ongoing, getting all of that, as much of that as possible up off of the sidelines along parade routes and things like that. But we're still planning on going forward, and we do have the extra presence out there. You should see plenty of extra police presence. The officers are working in very tough conditions. They're on traffic posts. We've been running water around to them. We're trying to relieve them as quickly as possible. The guard is doing the same, as are the traffic control officers. So it's tough conditions, but they're making it through just fine.
And overall crime enforcement, just neighborhood patrols, those types of things?
Yes, as I said, when we moved to 12-hour shifts and deployed extra folks, that allowed us to leave just standard patrol in the districts with a little bit of extra, and then have an extra core of people to do extra enhanced visibility and security.
Mayor, looking at last Friday's downburst, that was one area, like Northeast really seemed to take a huge hit with that. With this storm though, and I just want to get your take on this, it seems like the whole city took a hit. But driving around, if you go to the Northeast, there's a tree down one block, and then several blocks away, it's another tree down. Is there any particular area of town that you're seeing that got really hit for target, or is this really just as widespread as it seems to be?
Well, let me start, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor Quander and City Administrator Lew to step in. But as I understand it, this was unfortunately pretty evenly distributed across the city. When you look at the power outages of 65,000 folks, they're pretty evenly distributed across the city. So this storm and its after effects seem to have kind of almost an equivalent effect on the city. In areas where you again continue to see downed limbs and trees, it for the most part is because we can't access those trees and limbs yet because they have wires intertwined, and this obviously would be a dangerous situation. As soon as PEPCO gets those wires out of there, we will take those tree limbs and those trees out.
I think the mayor has covered it. It's been pretty widespread, and you may have one block that is fine. To the left, the power is out. North of that, the power is out, and a major tree is down. And so it showed no preference whatsoever, this storm. It hit us hard throughout, so there are pockets. And that's part of the reason why it's taking us so long to get to these various areas to make sure. But we're working it. We have a priority schedule in place, and so we're making progress.
So just to follow up in Northwest, we've been seeing more down trees. We were hearing over by AU, Homeland, and all that, they would get moved.
Yeah, we actually, last weekend, as you said, that it was concentrated in wards 4 and 5. This weekend, it was across the entire city, but 2 of the wards took the most hits, Ward 6 and 3. So, these are the, we have it all mapped out in case you want all that detail. We've been tracking every event, every occurrence. Okay.
Thank you.
Patrick.
Very concerned about how word got out when the storm was coming. It seemed to sort of catch a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, I actually, thought the word got out pretty quickly.
So what we're seeing this year, a lot, especially early in the season, is these weather patterns developing in the Indiana, Ohio areas, and then rolling in. And some of them disperse across the mountains and they break up, and some of them don't. And what we're seeing is some pretty intense storms building pretty quickly. And this kind of thing we can expect more of this summer. And so We get that word out as quick as we get it from National Weather Service. It goes out across multiple information streams. We ensure that that gets out to everybody that's signed up, and I would encourage folks again to sign up for DC Alert. And that's the way we get that message out. As soon as we know it's coming and the intensity of it, and in some cases we can get it down to some specific areas. We can say whether it's going to be north or south, and we can take a look at that. So these are coming up pretty quickly.
Tell them how to set it up, those that don't know, sign up for DC Alert.
Sure. For your DC Alert, you can get there through going to our website, www.hsema.dc.gov or 72hours.dc.gov, either way, or going through the standard website for the city at dc.gov. Any of those you can find yourself to. There are links there that'll get you to sign up for our alert system.
That's it?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yeah.
I just have a quick question. Isn't it at all embarrassing that a storm can bring everything in the city to a halt just because a good plan wasn't in place?
Well, I don't think it's brought everything to a halt. I think the operations are still continuing on. We're trying to address those areas that, you know, have been affected, but if you look at the emergency services, the first responders are doing extremely well. The MPD, the fire. Look at this operation here. Look at the recreation facilities. Look at the libraries. I think, frankly, when you evaluate this, you're going to go back to power outages and what's associated with the power outages. The city's services, I think, have continued in a very, in a sterling fashion, with the exceptions that I've noticed. So I don't think the city's been brought to a halt at all.
So just to confirm, at this point, you don't expect cancellation of anything for the 4th of July holiday based on what's happening this weekend?
No, 4th of July will come again this year, just like last year. Is that it? Thank you all very much.